going to be really, really bad karaoke.
What was that?
I'm trying to play Whitesnake, and I choked.
You choked.
So, whatever.
For like
when playing Whitesnake, it's close is as good as a win.
That's true. I'm so off these days. For the first couple seconds, I thought you were going to play like Unchained by Van Halen.
Next time. That's a great idea.
What was the deal, David Lee Roth? Like, one Jake coming up.
Yeah. Give me a break, Dave.
Come on, Dave. Give me a break.
I said. And to think that those guys were kids. They were like 20 something,
Yeah.
Young guys.
Stuff, man.
But it goes to show you the brilliance of youth sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
It's the brilliance of youth. I have long believed this about, maybe it crosses everything, whether it's musical talent, your ability to write songs, and anything else. I don't know. The magic happens in your 20s when you're young. And this sounds really horrible for bands as they continue on and they're in their 30s and then they're in their 40s and the 50s, and notice how their albums just don't sell at all.
Yeah.
And so the best they can do.
You're so mean.
No, wait for it.
Okay.
There's a lot of evidence to back this up, actually. I've always believed it. It saddens me. But it's true. And so the best they can do is just tour and play the hits from when they were in their 20s. And so then I was validated by Rick Beato, where he did a video where he talked about the exact same thing. And he just went through every band you can think of, even the Beatles, the best of the best.
Yeah.
It's like there's some kind of magic, some kind of whatever. Your brain's, I don't know, working better, more.
I think it's like a success bias. You get some success with some content, and then everything else you create is against that measurement, and you just keep biasing toward that. I think.
Yeah.
Rick Beato, by the way, if people haven't checked out the Rick Beato YouTube, if you're a musician, that's a great YouTube channel to hit. So.
I'm surprised people even know about him, even though he has something like 2 million views.
I love watching his stuff. It's great.
Intense.
He gets some of the best guitar players.
I haven't seen the video yet. I don't know if he published it, but he did come out and say he got David Gilmour to come on, which was a big deal. Yeah, because in the past he'd mentioned, there'll be some people I just won't be able to get.
Right.
And he listed names, and Gilmour was one of them, but apparently he just got him at an interview, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. I heard David Gilmour was on the Tonight Show, or one of the late night shows recently or something. I don't know what's going on he's opening himself.
He had Brian May on there recently, fairly recently, I guess. That was an incredible
absolutely
too, like totally
absolutely
thing. So
and it's great because he knows music and he knows history like Rob.
I love history. It's fun.
Yeah, but he's up to date with all the new kids, like
New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. Yeah. He's up to date with that stuff.
From KOTB.
Yeah.
So, but I think it boils down to like freaking hormone. They have the if you think back to your teens as well as your early 20s, man, it's you're aggressive, and you have a lot of testosterone, a lot of other stuff going on, and you're inspired, you're hopeful.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. So you just, I think you go down vectors that people that are old and grumpy and crusty like us, kind of go.
Well, you don't know what's not possible as a younger person, and
you don't.
That's
you
it.
go for it,
That's
and
it.
you learn, and then you realize, oh, that wasn't possible, but that was fun.
It's just like in tech. Like, remember Steve Jobs would say, "We didn't know it was impossible, and so we did it." It's like, we found a way to put a PDP-11 on a piece of plywood on a deal and made the Apple One. and we didn't know that we couldn't do it, and that's how we did it. And it's that youth, I think. It's that arrogance, or we don't know what we don't know, and so we somehow magically did it,
Yeah, just having like tons of guts. I mean, I'm running up on just had the 7th year anniversary of Next Curve, and for me at my age, man, that was some scary stuff. And Rob, you were there at the beginning. That's the crazy thing, you are part of Next Curve. You're part of the history, but I quite honestly, I didn't know where I was going to end up, and I ended up in, I would have to say, a pretty friggin', nice place. And you never know, but I mean, it's no. But then when you listen to these kids doing the crazy stuff, man, they never say it was easy. In fact, they didn't even know if it was going to work. No, I remember. I've got all these pictures of us at IoT World Congress, Solutions World Congress,
like back in 2018 or 17 or something. I don't know, and we're standing in front of the IoT thing and stuff like that. What you did, you struggled, you perseverance. There's my wife, a school teacher, she talks about kids today, not all of them, but she says tries to teach them about this notion of productive struggle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids will just throw up their hands and give up. Like, oh, this is too hard. I quit. I can't do it. And trying to teach them, you've got to push through. Your whole life, you're going to get into these things that you think are too hard, or the mountain's too high to climb. And you really got to find a way to be persistent and push through.
Yeah.
There's also this interesting discussion going on, especially on LinkedIn, around ageism and age in tech. And even so, there's, on the younger side, there is that, we don't know it's impossible when we go for it. On the older side, there is like the wisdom and the operational knowledge that you also need to be successful too. So it's like important to have like this kind of well-rounded team. Often, you've seen this, unfortunately. You see, there was some VC the other day that say, never hire a CEO older than 35 or something like that. Like it's kind of this bullshit that's like, this age bias that goes on that is really harmful. And it's a bad business strategy too. It's not immoral, it's bad business strategy. So
in that regard, I think it's just an even playing field. You know what I'm saying? I think I mean, to be honest, I have met some older folks who are a generation older than me, that are super entrepreneurial. They have crazy, amazing ideas. A lot of bad ideas too. So I don't think it's really all that different in terms of a quote unquote dynamic or issue. It's just it's different, right? Experience definitely matters, but then experience can sometimes pigeonhole your thinking, right? And then on the other end, ignorance can enable you to get excited about something that you shouldn't be getting excited about, but then it gives you that perseverance. I guess that on a few occasions, that effort and that energy can translate into something that's big, right? Whereas, some of these more experienced people, they actually hone in on a real friggin' problem, right? That can exponentially scale, but they have no idea how to sell it and talk BS about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And do all the fake crap that, people who are, let's say, less experienced and maybe ignorant of things, they have no problem doing it because they believe.
Right. Yeah. This is like that discussion around the beginner's mind and the expert's mind, where you hear about that.
Yeah.
In the beginner's mind, anything is possible, and the problem with people with a lot of experience is sometimes they self-sabotage, or they'll say, oh, this has already been done.
Self-edit, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so it makes me think the ideal tech founder is a little bit naive, but persistent.
Yeah.
A little bit crazy, but
yeah.
You know what always helps though, man, in any regard is better questions, tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's wrong for grumpy old folks to ask tough questions. And if, let's say, a bright-eyed young person can answer them, well, that's something they should take on and answer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of older generation folks who don't ask great questions, and they get a lot of problems.
Well, that's the role also
in business all the time.
A good board of directors will ask good questions. That's why you have good board of directors.
That's exactly. They've been to a lot of rodeos.
Ask those questions. Be like, have you thought about this?
Yeah. Do you guys? I know we probably talked about this before. Do you guys ever listen to the Acquired podcast? It's these guys at Madrona.
I think you mentioned it. Yeah, Madrona. Yeah.
They did a great thing. They did the whole history of Microsoft, which is great. But they're doing one right now where they're talking about Mark Zuckerberg specifically and Meta, but really about him. When you talk about a young person who doesn't know you can't do things and you just go for it, obviously lots of the stories behind Zuck and Facebook and everything from the movie and lots of books have been written about it. But some of the insights are just so cool. And people are like, can he really be the CEO of this giant thing? And the answer is yes, he can. The guy's really got it. Whatever people throw tomatoes at Zuck all the time, but you know what? There's something magic that he's got. They talk about all the other tech stuff he had done in high school. When he went to like Phillips Exeter, and then he was going to some regular public school, and he was just way too smart, and he was just so he got in, and then it was just like a no-brainer that he was going to get into Harvard. Like he was just so much smarter, and yet he was always building software and building things. And then Harvard was like, I think it's funny they said classroom study was like the least important thing on his mind.
Yeah.
He was building stuff the whole time, and obviously we know about the face smash thing, which is like the hot or not deal on Harvard campus, but.
It's pretty brilliant, actually. It's
super remarkable. And then they talk about the VCs, but the whole deal about, once he moves to Palo Alto, and the kind of deal they wanted to do, and they talked about this, like, we're just a few years out of the dot-com crash, and a lot of VCs felt really burned by the kind of crazy things they invested in during dot-com. And then here comes this Facebook thing where it's like, no, Zuck needs to be completely in control of the whole thing, and most VCs back then, and even, or especially today, there's like no way in hell, it's like, you're getting this much money, we're going to own this huge chunk. There's no way you'd have over 50% control of the company. And yet that's what happened. And they kind of talked about the only way it really could happen was going after individual angels at the beginning. So, apparently he talked to, Reid Hoffman at the beginning, who was just barely doing LinkedIn. What's his name? Pincus, who was also, I think, part of the eBay mafia or the PayPal mafia. And they could chip in a little bit of money, but then they said, we need to introduce you to Peter Thiel. And I think it was only through that mechanism, and Peter Thiel hadn't started Founders Fund yet, that they were, at that individual one-to-one level, that they were able to do a deal where Zuck would have so much control and still get the money he needed. And then, of course, later on, all the big, Excel partners, all the other VCs kind of got in line, and they did a deal they said they would never do. And yet, at the same time, it's like, yeah, we invested Facebook. It's the most successful company ever when you talk about venture capital company. Like those guys, what I think they said, they made 250,000x on their money. There's nothing that compares to Facebook. It just really isn't. You thought Google was the biggest thing that those guys, Facebook blows it out.
Yeah. Interesting story about Facebook. I was like, for our community in the now what we call the Edge AI Foundation, we used to call the TinyML Foundation. Which we launched last week in Taiwan. And I was like, we've always never really engaged in the Facebook community because, there's people on LinkedIn and Discord, whatever. But to be honest with you, when we do events and we want to advertise for registration, we get the most response out of Facebook ads. And I thought that was really interesting. And so I went to Taiwan. I met this guy named Jack Onrishi, and shout out to Jack. And he was on a panel on our event there, and he runs an Edge AI in Taiwan Facebook group.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, how big's the group? He's like, oh, about 10,000 people. I
Whoa!
was like, what? So I joined the group, and what was cool about it was that, of course, like 90% is in Chinese,
Yeah.
but the translation tech on Facebook was really good. So I'm able to like read all the posts and read the articles and engage with this organization and this community, which is really cool using my English.
Yeah.
But it was like this huge Edge AI community of tech nerds, in Taiwan, that was just out there that I hadn't even heard of. So I think Facebook's got a lot more dimensions to it than most of us think about, maybe in the West.
Yeah. I agree. Cool. And people talk about their tech or the scalability or whatever, and you always talk about the big cloud players like AWS and Azure and GCP. And people always look at me funny. I routinely tell people, when you want to learn about giant scalable systems, you should look at Facebook before you look at those other guys, because nothing compares, actually.
Yeah.
There's no company on the planet that has over 4 billion active daily users hitting their system. Nothing.
And I think they're using their AI for translation too, because it was really good. It was really impressive.
I used to when I was trying to improve myself as an architect, I would read all these white papers that the Facebook architects would publish on how to build scalable systems, because they're better than anybody. They just are. It seems cheesy to say Facebook is the best, but it just really is, because the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
It's not even close. It would be all the cloud players and everyone combined to try to even get close to what Facebook does every day.
Yeah, and they're disrupting with Llama and open source, AI models, and kind of blowing up everyone's nice little money machines, scalers. They're like, throw it out there.
Here's some
new search engine. No big deal. For free.
Yeah, and all these hyperscalers are different. Like what you're saying, Rob, they have more of a, let's say, homogeneous workload portfolio than others. So if you're trying to compare with AWS or others, you have to start, or Amazon more broadly, you have to look at their core business, right? Which for Amazon, it's retail. For Google, it's search. So but these are pretty big businesses themselves, right? And so they might not have the billions of active daily users, but that's how you have to look at the scale. But if you start to look at hyperscalers in terms of their cloud business, because that's how a lot of people think of them for some reason these days, then it's a totally different story. It's not an apples to apples comparison, right? And in that regard, Facebook is lucky because they don't have to deal with that diversity of workloads that, let's say, AWS or Azure has to deal with.
Yeah, they're not running commercial.
Overall has to deal with.
Yeah, they're not running.
A crap ton of complexity that goes beyond, typical hyperscale thinking. But Rob, that scale that you're talking about that Facebook has, I remember Tarek Amin, when he was CEO of Rakuten Mobile, he used to bring that up all the time. But the one thing that you always arrived at is the fact that in a Facebook data center, you have basically a singular workload, quote unquote. I mean, it's a massive, complex one, but you don't have all these different systems that you're trying to provide to your customers, like AWS or a GCP or Azure. So yeah, in that regard, man, it's friggin' massively scaled, right? In its simplicity. So yeah, it's incredible, man.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear early on. They didn't even have to worry about scale problems early on. They did things that seemed counterintuitive in the early days. Remember, it's like, all right, we're going to get Harvard first, and then the next they went after Columbia in New York City, and they actually had dedicated servers, and there was no interconnect between. So it's when Columbia came online, they could not see Harvard people. And so early on, they didn't even have to worry about scale issues, because they just had a Columbia server and a Harvard server, and they kind of went like that initially, at least. And so they could build the technology, keep adding features on the fly, that kind of thing, and not worry about scale until finally flipping the switch and saying, okay, now you can all see each other, you know?
I'm surprised Facebook or Meta hasn't gone bit harder into the kind of build your own server chip business, like the other hyperscalers have. You know, maybe it's under wraps. We don't know about it, but you know, it would seem like with that kind of scale and those kind of workloads, like you were saying, Leonard, they could optimize a little bit. But, you know.
Well, I mean, maybe they're looking at because they buy a crap ton of NVIDIA.
Sure.
Right. And maybe the way that they're looking at things is, hey, this is pretty general purpose, so it's extensible. And you know, given how quickly these you know, Gen AI supercomputing platforms are evolving, we should have as much flexibility built into the overall you know, systems that we use, so that we can depreciate it longer over time. You know. Yeah,
no, that's true.
You know,
I do know though that also the
big problem right now.
It's the other issue is fast. But the issue is the training costs now out of control, and it's like anything you can do to optimize your training is going to have a huge impact on your bottom line, because it's just billions of dollars at this point to train.
Yeah, but think about all the inference they have.
Sure,
because we have to remember, they're not selling this stuff to enterprises internally. They're going to be developing these new capabilities for their ad systems, their, you know, the targeting or personalization engine that they have, the recommender engines, right? That systems that Jensen always talks about, and those are massive workloads, right?
True. So, by the way, Leonard, your audio setting you're cutting out a little bit on your audio.
Really?
You have like an aggressive noise canceling thing going on or something.
I hate
your going in and out.
Yeah.
All
right. How's that? Keep going.
Yeah, you're fine. You know, it's really interesting. You know, so a lot of people might remember in the Social Network movie, there's a time when a bunch of them went to see Bill Gates speak at Harvard. And there's more to that than you think. Apparently, and this is a major factor in Zuck feeling comfortable about leaving Harvard, was during that speech that Bill Gates gave at Harvard, he mentioned Harvard has this really liberal policy that if you want to take a long sabbatical or leave of absence from Harvard, you can take as long a sabbatical as you want and then just come right back. And Bill said that's what gave him the comfort to know that he could drop out of Harvard and go to Albuquerque to start Microsoft. And that was what made Zuckerberg feel relieved and goes, oh, okay, I could leave for a while and then I can come back anytime I want. And so it was that speech from Bill that kind of gave him the free pass to feel like, okay, it's not so bad if I leave and go to California, you know?
Interesting. You know, the other platform I think is kind of getting hot too. It's not the same infrastructure scale as Reddit. I don't know if you've seen Reddit is now profitable for the first time.
Wow. Great.
And it's getting, I definitely foresee Reddit becoming much more mainstream platform for communities and conversations. I think it's just, it's getting better and better. And, you know, I think if they start infusing with more AI smarts, like if I had a Reddit agent to help me sort of summarize what's happening in my subreddits and threads, I mean, stuff like that, I think is really cool because it's, well, why not? That would be great.
No. And I know it sounds great. It's just, man, have you noticed Google has materially gotten worse with these Gen AI overviews? Summaries. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's like now the rest of the search is becoming useless. It's like the results are so low quality because I usually use search, but then, you get force fed these overviews, and time again, I'll occasionally I'll go and I'll review the overviews. There's all kinds of crazy crap in it. So about 20% of it is wrong. And then now I look at the search results and there's nothing useful there, because I think a lot of it is being informed by the recommender engine. That's also running Gen AI.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's disappointing, because you kind of rely on Google to at least pick up some quality stuff. And now it's all just a mishmash of just ad fronted content and then really low quality links.
Have you seen the Apple Intelligence? Some of the screenshots. of like your email. It summarizes your notifications like ring doorbell. You have people at your front door, your back door, and your garage. It's like it summarizes like, and it's like, oh, I'm being invaded by like a mob of people.
Dude, it's like largely useless. I'm actually I turned off the summary or whatever they call it, priority thing, because it kept prioritizing my junk mail.
I know. No,
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, I got to turn this shit off because I'm never going to get anything done.
Like, priority, you've won $1 million. Click here. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what, we talked about before. The learning curve is going to turn people off because nobody wants to suffer this crap. I don't want my junk mail being prioritized by a GenAI that basically lowers the quality of the experience and the utility of something that actually worked pretty friggin' okay before. Yeah. Having that dominate the top of the screen, that friggin' pisses me off, man. Anyways, I gotta drop. Hey, enjoy the rest of your discussion. I look forward to, listening to it. All right. See you guys.
Adios.
Bye.
Welcome to part 2.
Part 2. But part 2 are not really interesting, right? On the movie's history.
Yeah, good point. Like the sequel to the big.
Yeah, movie. We should be the part 3.
Part 3
sometimes are good.
Yeah, of course. I thought Aliens was a good sequel to Alien.
Yeah, or maybe The Godfather, right?
Yeah, it could happen. So what's going on in Barca?
Yeah, everything is going well already. I was last week at the Smart City Expo.
Oh, cool!
Yeah. It was fun to meet some people, and I saw a lot of AI use cases for smart cities. That's interesting. Cool. I don't know. Let's see how it evolves, or or they kill it at some point. But and looking forward to see what happens at Mobile World Congress.
Yeah, I saw different people we know who went to the smart city thing. I never know how things are going with smart cities. If that's still going strong, or if it's dead, or people hoping. I don't know.
Maybe here the specialist on the temperature of a smart cities, it's Ville, right? So,
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it was 2 halls from Mobile World Congress venue. But they were half, and not a lot of people. I just went one day, and then I organized a meetup.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting. Like 30 people show up, and City Studio was doing a demo of their NVIDIA system, and then it was fun because they are releasing a new device called Recamera, which is just a really tiny device with a single board computer. A single board computer based on RISC-V running Linux.
Oh, cool.
So you can run YOLO V8 on that device.
Yeah.
So actually, this is what we talked like 100 episodes ago. Like, camera is not a camera anymore, right?
Right.
Cameras, our children, no? Will not know what is a camera. Like they don't know what was a telephone from 30 years ago, right?
Everything's changed. Cameras got a lot smarter. That's amazing. That's cool stuff. Yeah, you know what? I really loved being involved a little, in the smart city thing. I thought there was a lot of good ideas, a lot of cool things that could have happened. And I don't know, I guess a variety of reasons. I know people talk generically about, we had great ideas, and then we had to go work with City Hall or the leaders of the city, and they didn't like our ideas, or it got caught up in a bureaucracy and slowed down. And I also would hear people like pointing, who's got the money to build all this stuff, because the city's like, we don't have any money. Are you gonna? It's like that Spider-Man picture.
Exactly.
With Spider-Man looking at each other. Who's paying for this? It sounds really cool.
That's a good one. No, absolutely, yeah. And then, now, for example, in the US, you're going to change the government, right? So probably, some of the providers will be killed, right? Because the party just changed. So
that's a good question. I know that a lot of people outside the U.S., or maybe inside the U.S., think that when you have a new president, that it's a giant change. It might seem like a big change when you're watching it on TV, on the news, and hearing stuff. I think what actually happens is far less change than people think. People freak out. People are like, "Oh my God!" It's all gonna,
Okay, so your day-to-day life doesn't change much,
day-to-day
right?
life doesn't change as much. And so if we think about smart cities, I think who the mayor of the city is and the city council probably plays a bigger role in making that happen than somebody in a distant capital, far away. But I think lots of things, it all still comes down to money. Probably more than anything, actually, which is sad.
And what's the length of government for majors in the US? It's like 4 years, or
I think it's 4 years, but I think they can. And that's the weird thing. As far as term limits, how many times can they run?
That's cool.
It depends. Like the president can only run twice.
Okay.
There's no limits on Congress or Senate. I think there should be. But when you start going down to the state level, they all make their own rules. And so you could, in some states, maybe the mayor can run 2 times, maybe 8 years total or something. And in other states, the mayor could probably be there forever.
Forever. Oh, wow.
Some old guy. So yeah, I think it depends on the state and the rules they have each state. Yeah, which is, I guess that's kind of a weird thing about the United States, is that you would have all these different rules about different state. It's like it's
we
like
don't think.
The Constitution says whatever is not listed as far as what the federal government is doing specifically, then those powers are left to the states. And so that has allowed each state to do all kinds of different things, which is why some people might come from Europe and go, wow, I drove around America and it seemed like a whole bunch of different countries.
Yeah, it's a huge country. It's like we have to think it like Europe, right?
It's like going to Europe from country to country. Yeah, you're right.
But with the same language, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes the states are just as different, almost. The way some states are very similar, and others are completely different. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's pretty interesting. Absolutely.
No, that's but yeah, no, I think similar. I think here I remember when there was this smart city fever, and we changed from it was the right party, and then we changed to left party in Barcelona, and then they killed everything related to smart cities initiatives. And I remember some companies or organizations that were more like left but working on these smart city projects. Then the left government was saying, no, you were a provider or a supplier of the previous government, so we don't want to have anyone who collaborated with the previous government. So,
so these people don't think that they're collaborating with the government; they're just trying to do good work,
exactly good work, or a useful project for the society, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe they voted right for the left, and then they you.
Yeah, but you're right. It's like no matter who you are, you have to deal with or work with.
Yeah, exactly. You adapt.
Is in power, even if you don't like them. You've got to find a way to collaborate and work together. Yeah, it's interesting. What I feel weird about the smart cities is that I spent a bunch of time. You'll relate to this. I've got a bunch of code sitting on a computer that's a smart city digital twin thing that I built.
Oh wow.
And it's kind of like the Russian doll, or I don't know. It's like, but it's creating digital twins. It's basically creating groups within groups, but you could think of them as twins. It's like create the city, create a property, a building, floors in a building, rooms in a floor, all that kind of stuff. And then you'd have IoT devices inside all those things, and you'd have all the information about what's going on everywhere. And so it wasn't totally finished, but I built a bunch of it. And so it was like this web interface, and you could drill into
Nice.
into different areas. And so, but it's just sitting on a computer now doing nothing.
So you don't have these deployed, right?
It's not deployed. It's just
so talking about deployments in Barcelona, actually, and then we go back to your digital smart city digital twin. But actually, there was a street where there were many pilots running in parallel in one street in Barcelona, in Poblenou. And some months ago, I met one startup, one entrepreneur who used to run a pilot there. And what he told me is that at some point when the government changed, so nobody was replying emails or anything. So they went there with a ladder to collect the hardware, because maybe that hardware was thousands of dollars, or so it was expensive things. So they just collected the hardware and went and resell it to someone else, because nobody was paying for the pilot. Was it's a bit so
it's like you had a lot of different cool pilot projects in Barcelona.
You remember that bus station managed by Cisco, whatever? I don't know. That was really weird. Like, what Cisco is doing in what
I know.
in a bus station?
Yeah.
Or
but didn't you have things like monitoring like the gases in the air or pollution or around the city?
Quality sensors, that was done by FabLab Barcelona, for example. They were doing they call it the smart citizen. It was So actually, it's funny. A year before the fever of the Smart City Expo, there was a fever of air quality sensors on Kickstarter. Just when Kickstarter launched, there were like 3, 4, 5 air quality sensors. And the funny story is that in this IoT meetup that I organized during the Smart City Expo, there was a guy who was explaining that they were doing a smart air quality sensor for bikes.
Wow, for bikes.
So like again, there is still
here we go.
These type of projects are still running there.
I wonder what the secret to having these projects survive different governments and leadership is. Because there's ideas that we've had for a long time. They're not new ideas. And you just like, how do they survive? How do you make it happen?
And the problem is that probably they just reinvent the wheel, because the new governments don't want to learn about what happened before, so they are just reinventing the wheel and investing money that has been already spent.
Right.
But it's easy to spend money when it's not yours, right? So.
That's true. You're right. Oh my gosh. One of these. And then
about the digital twin, I have been thinking a lot on this concept of unified namespace, that at the end it's the same that you mentioned, right? So have like all of these what it's used on industrial IoT, how to apply that into any use case. And I think it's a great place maybe to have a unified namespace concept.
Could be. I remember when I first heard about unified names. What's the guy's name? I had lunch with him in Dallas. The guy who did the whole thing. Anyway,
let me check it. I don't remember
his name. You're right. I'm losing my mind this morning for some reason.
Yeah, me too. Huh? What happened?
Yeah.
This is it. What is unified names? I'm watching a video from Walker Reynolds.
That's right. Yeah. So I had lunch with him in Dallas. He's a smart guy, and he's but a lot of hands-on experience. And so he kind of put that together. And I remember when he was first describing it, it did remind me of similar things we were doing with digital twins.
Yeah, indeed.
He kind of wanted this one place where all the data was going. And I remember lots of people would ask him, and I did too. I was like, "Are you talking about a database where everything comes?" And he's like, "No, it's not a database." It seemed like it was very connected to MQTT brokers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like in the topics or something. And I'm like,
exactly, it's a broker. So you want to do a digital twin of related on the buildings or whatever, you just subscribe to the topics of the buildings, and you just get that data into your system and create your digital twins for the buildings. So this is the only thing you need to do. So I think it's a super smart concept.
No, it is. So you subscribe to topics and then you pull that data. It doesn't seem that radical of change from what other systems have done. Other systems have had a different way of pulling the same data from a different location. Like, you could build the whole thing just using REST APIs and a database and still find a way to do it.
But the problem is that collecting multiple data sets on one unique database, it's hard, right? So basically unified namespace, you have to think it as a picture, like a picture now, no? You have pictures of the moment that it's not stored. But you can do whatever you want with that data. So you just need to subscribe to the set of data that you want,
right?
And then store it, and then build your business logics on the data that you want.
Yeah.
But it's just something super generic. And then you have to think about this REST API. So depending on the MQTT broker that you want to use, there are REST API. You can use REST APIs if you want. But I think it's if you have a system on your business, on your application with an MQTT endpoint that just subscribe, and then you just put that data on a database or whatever.
Yeah,
that's it's super simple. It's super neat.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it definitely seems very MQTT focused, just because it has that pub sub architectural pattern built into it. Whereas if you were building it using another wire protocol like REST or AMQP or something else, you would have to build that yourself differently.
Exactly.
It's like I remember when we did Lumada, we ended up using, to help get to market faster, we used RabbitMQ as that initial place to dump all the data, to queue the data that's coming in. Also because Rabbit had supported MQTT, AMQP, HTTP, REST. I had a bunch of stuff out of the box. And so we're like, okay, let's use that. Because we don't have to build it.
No, RabbitMQ has been super useful, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, whatever protocol, and then we'll dump it in message queue. And then the thing is, the difference, I guess, is if you're not doing the whole MQTT topic and subscription, if you're not doing that, then you've got data comes into some kind of message queue, and you've got some kind of daemons worker role pulling data out of the queue and sending it to the right location in the database.
You can do that, but then you are coupled to the daemons or to the workers of RabbitMQ.
Yeah.
So with the other, you're just coupled to have an MQTT client, and then from the subscription you do whatever but probably you will need a queue if there is a lot of data.
Yeah.
But actually what it's surprising, it's that the MQTT brokers were really, really scalable and worked really well.
Yeah.
Sure. So I can imagine like an entity like a city hall just pushing all the data, publishing all the data in an MQTT broker, and like asking to or telling to the citizens or companies like data is here. So fuck all this open data concept and everything that sucks and it's not working or it's on PDFs. And the data is here. If you want it, just subscribe.
Yeah. So when you were deciding and building the things, IO, how did that work with your system as far as handling all that data coming in? Did you have some kind of pattern?
We were using Redis as a queue system. Maybe it's not designed for that. And then from Redis, we were storing the data on Cassandra.
Okay.
Basically, and we were using Cassandra for a time series database. Yeah. But basically, as a queue system, we were using Redis. Yeah, it was a super simple system.
Yeah, it would be fast because it's in memory, I guess.
Exactly. So it was very fast. This is what we wanted, to have like a kind of cache or a queue. Yeah. That was really fast, and then we could do other operations between leaving Redis and being stored in the database.
And Cassandra was good for fast writes, if I remember right. Inserts.
Yeah, no, it was good for writes and reads. The only problem is that you needed to take care a lot of it. So you had to run your cleanups, and so you have to do some cleanups monthly. It's kind of a McDonald's ice cream machine, right? So if it works really well. and you need to do all your all your work, and it works. But yeah,
wow,
you had had like an expert on that to do all the maintenance and everything.
Do you ever think back to those times and think, what if you would have made a different choice or do something differently, a different database or different whatever?
Maybe no, maybe not. No, the database, we were very happy. It was scaling well.
Yeah.
Maybe what I was not super happy is that, and even at that moment, it's we didn't support the standard MQTT
Right.
protocol. So that was a bit of meh. I would have changed that now.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Sure.
But yeah, the other things were working well. We were supporting, I don't know, co-op, MQTT, not the standard solution, REST APIs, WebSockets. I mean, the problem was not the technology, right? It was the market is still not.
Didn't you have like your customers? Do you have like utilities or garbage? I'm trying to remember who your customers were in Barcelona.
We had many different verticals, actually.
Yeah.
We had, we did pilots everywhere, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had few big customers from solar panels companies. We were tracking hundreds of thousands of solar panels. I remember that they were doing in 2014, they were doing predictive maintenance on solar panels.
Wow.
So 10 years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was like probably, well, maybe not was the first time, but the first time I saw companies doing predictive maintenance. Really, they were having problems. So this company was deploying solar parks, solar panels all around the world, and they had problems when the park stopped working.
Okay.
And what they were explaining me is that they needed to travel. So, for example, now in Chile. If you have a park in a desert in Chile, in the South America, maybe it's a 3-day trip to get there.
Yeah.
But the problem is not that, is that if you want to go there for work to repair something, you need a work permit, and that lasts maybe 1 or 2 weeks more.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like, okay, this is not working, I'm going to take the next flight and go there and repair. Oh, right. Wait, you cannot do that.
That's interesting.
No, that's I didn't know that. So they wanted to predict, like, okay, how many days do we need? 2 weeks? Okay, so we need to predict 2 weeks in advance that this is gonna have a problem, so we can send someone to repair it before that happens.
Yeah.
So it's not just but for technology, it's for human bureaucracy. Sometimes you need to.
That's right. I think a lot of people didn't think about that part. They were just thinking about sensors and not.
Exactly. No, it's like, okay, what machine do I need? Or no. Well, you need a work permit to go there to fix this.
Right. Oh my God, that's pretty cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. And in Lumada, would you change anything in the stack, or?
I thought it was more complicated than it needed to be in some ways. We built it in Java. I would change that, and the reason was. So it was the early days of microservices were hot and Docker was new and we're going to use Docker. And there was that whole, remember they would say, well, hey, if you're using all your services in Docker, each one could be written in a different programming language. It doesn't matter. And so in the early days of building Lumada, all the developers, I think we had 5 different programming languages were being used in building Lumada. And I remember having a meeting with everybody. I was like, stop. I need you to pick one language. I go, this is going to get so complicated already. You're making it more complicated by using different languages. And so I said, I don't care which one you pick, just pick one. And so they all got together and decided to go with Java. The problem with that at the time frame was Java wasn't optimized to run very well inside of Docker containers orchestration, because Java was using too much memory, too many resources. And as a result, we had to use larger VMs in Amazon to run Lumada than we should have. And it was because the Java, the JVM was not optimized for containers. And so it was bloated. We should have used something like Go or some other really lean, fast, small language, and framework instead. So definitely would change that.
I think we were okay with Node.js at that moment, so we took a good decision there.
Yeah, that's what Losant used. They used Node.js too. I remember thinking also we used Cassandra and Maria DB.
Okay.
So I thought that was weird. I was like, why are we using two databases? And so the relational database had all that metadata and all the kind of users, groups, that stuff. And
we use MongoDB for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Cassandra was just for the actual data coming in there. And so I'd wish that there was a simpler way to do that. Just find one database to try to make it lighter weight than having two running.
Yeah.
But I understand the thinking.
That was the initial days as well of NoSQL, right? So
yeah.
So there were too many databases, and each one was for a specific use case.
That's right.
So we were using MongoDB for users and events and so on, and we were using then Cassandra for data.
But you're right. Over time, a lot of the other, like Postgres and some others, started supporting JSON and all kinds of things. It's like I was just always focused on trying to keep it as simple as possible, because it was just getting really big and heavy, And so
that's a problem.
It was a problem, absolutely. I was amazed that the developers did a great job of getting a lot of good features out the door quickly, though. I was impressed with that. But those are probably the things I would, doing today. Just use a simple one database if I can. I don't know. Also, depending on the use case, you don't need as much scalability as people think you do.
Exactly. Well, we were not transversal platforms, so we had from pictures to Sigfox data. No, we were from some megabytes per message to 12 bytes. So So if you focus less on LP1s,
I think one big question I still wrestle with or worry about is what is the secret to success for these IoT platforms? Most of them have all failed now, and I wonder why most of them did the job, they worked, they did what they said they were going to do, and so I'm always wondering why did some of them really great technologies struggle getting customers or keeping customers? Were companies worried about not owning that technology themselves and having it in-house? Were they worried about having dependencies on other companies? I don't know. I'd love to figure it out, though.
So actually, if you want to learn about this, you need to come to IoT Star's Mobile World Congress, where we start having, so I'm going to say something confidential, but we have the first speaker confirmed. He's a successful IoT entrepreneur, and he will talk about what did he learn during, and still doing, and how companies are failing and he's succeeding. So I'm trying to find the notes of what he said. But basically he's like why IoT startups fail and why IoT startups succeed, and he's going to explain the recipe.
That's good information.
Hopefully I will see you on IoT Stars Mobile Congress.
I feel like I know who this person is, and I feel like he lives where you live.
No, I think you don't know him.
I don't know him?
I don't think so.
It's not some guy from España?
No.
No, okay. I was thinking of somebody else.
No.
A friend of yours who had an IoT company.
Jaume Rey, you mean?
Yeah.
No. He's the...
Where he was saying they were failing, and then they had to change their business model to kind of be like consulting services. Mm-hmm. We're going to come and help you do the work. And he said that made a difference for him.
No. It's the company who confirmed who's going to speak. It's called Sensolus.
Okay.
So it's the best asset tracker in the market. It's a profitable company.
Okay, cool.
And now they are expanding the market. So he wants to explain why some asset tracker companies failed and why some others made it.
That's great.
And what's the secret sauce to have success? So I think it's going to be a super interesting
That's awesome
conversation.
A lot of people want to know what the secret sauce is, for sure.
Yeah, and this guy, the CEO and the founder, is a kind of a really cool guy, a character, and I think it's going to be super interesting. Yeah,
that's
every
awesome.
time I met him, yeah, it's like it's this type of people that you learn things every time you talk with him. So
that's awesome. Do you know yet where you're going to have the event this year?
Yeah, 4th of March, 2025.
4th of March. Okay. Oh, okay, good. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that we are changing is Tuesday instead of Monday, sorry.
Instead of Monday? Okay.
Yeah.
Tuesday night? Okay. Yeah. Good beer.
So actually it's going to be the 10th anniversary of IoT Stars. You came to the first one.
Yeah.
10th anniversary.
Yeah.
So actually one thing that we are thinking, it's like, okay, so 10 years happened, right? Well, we missed the 2020, the COVID one, but so what IoT thought leaders and professionals think that it's going to happen in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I like that. You should call Rudy.
Rudy, yeah. That's a good one, yeah. Actually, I had a call with him last year, yeah. Maybe.
Ibiza? Is he?
Yeah, I think he's between Ibiza and Belgium.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, I think he's doing a lot of, he was trying to, he's creating this new, I don't know how circular, it's not circular economy. It's like educational, he's doing educational courses for leaders and entrepreneurs and people who.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that they were doing, the training, have you come to the island and spend some time, and I don't know.
Yeah, let me find his like.
Yeah, I haven't talked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that'd be
actually
fun.
One of the things that I like more from the first IoT Stars is that we brought. Probably I already said this many times here, but we brought a philosopher. I don't know if you were there.
I was there. I'm trying to remember what he talked about though.
So he was like explaining. So we were doing 5 startup pitches.
Yeah.
And then philosopher was like explaining how all of the ideas of the entrepreneur's pitch were connected with the classical philosophy.
I love it.
And how, like in the ancient Greece, philosophers were already thinking on how to solve that.
I love it. Oh my God. The format. I mean, it feels like we've gotten away from doing the startup pitches, and just doing, those panel discussions or whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to find IoT startups, right? IoT, it's not like a hot topic anymore.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you see in Seattle or in Washington a lot of IoT startups anymore, or?
That's what it was mainly about back then, was startups doing pitches and judges and having a winner and helping them.
Yeah, it was connecting like the entrepreneurs coming into the IoT field with like professionals and thought leaders.
Yeah.
And I think that was an interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'd be great to find a way to have, maybe we call it, I don't know, some other, I don't know. You're right. I don't want to change it. But yes, it'd be great to find a way to have entrepreneurs and at least do one,
Yeah. But it's tricky to find entrepreneurs, and sometimes now in the last times entrepreneurs that were coming or applying to talk, they were like Series A or Series B. I remember that in 2021, I think you were there. No, we had Natalia, who was like the real startup entrepreneur. But then we had like a Series A Swiss company, health in the health. That was not really an IoT thing, but I don't know. Yeah.
Right. People are using data though. And, even though people are all excited about AI now, this notion of trying to find a reason to live for IoT, that AI needs that data to train the models. There might be, I don't know, some kind of data, because you could step back, you could imagine the technology that we've built and just say, well, it's not always about devices. It's just a data stream pipe that goes somewhere that could be used for any kind of analytics, or it could be used to train models. I remember when I started having a light bulb come on for me that saying digital twins could also be an AI, an ML model at the same time. And the reason I thought that was when I started doing, it took me a long time to understand and figure out how to do machine learning models. But I was like, oh, wait a second. When I would talk about a digital twin of a pickup truck, and 4 tires and an engine and lights and transmission and all that stuff. And those are properties of the truck, of the digital twin. And then their current state, kind of like we do with IoT. And then you send all that data and you build the digital twin of the truck, and the data comes in and it tells you the current latest state of the tire pressure and the engine speed and all that shit. And then you have the historical state of all that as well. And I was like, when you're training a machine learning model for like predictive maintenance, or there's features of the model which are the same thing as maybe all those different properties or attributes of the twin. And then there's the label, as they call it, that's the answer you're looking for. And so if I was saying, is this machine working or not? Is it failing or is it working? Is the label, and the features are all the properties, which are, and so at some point I was like, okay, the digital twin is also doing 2 jobs at once. It's also the machine learning model. But that could be data from anywhere. I'm just trying to think out loud where we could get entrepreneurs who are still thinking that connected intelligence, that connected, even if they're all focused on AI, some of them have got to be focused on the data transmission, or how you do that, where it's coming from.
Well, let's make a call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone is watching this,
yes,
send us an email at hello@iotstars.com.
Exactly. Because that'd be fun to at least have one group still doing a pitch. I would also think I would like IoT Stars to last longer than it did in the past. I don't know. I didn't go to Austin. I don't know how long it was.
That was a classical IoT Stars the last one that you attended.
Yeah. I just remember when we did the one at that new place near Fira Gran Via, where we could walk to it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was really short to me, even though I know we were there drinking for a while and we went upstairs and we did some live recordings and stuff like that. But as far as the actual event where you had speakers, it just seemed like it was over and people were leaving really soon. And I was like, I wish it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to be so long that people where you lose the audience, or they're bored or whatever.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But a little bit longer. If it was 1 hour.
But you mean the talks or the event itself?
Well, the overall event would get longer, but yeah, the talks. I think I would have more talks. Maybe have individual speakers. Like you're going to have a good guy who's going to talk about how to succeed. That's great, and then some more panel discussions.
Yeah,
but also maybe talking about things that people have never heard of before. I don't know. Groundbreaking, cool things.
Let me write this down. Things that people never heard before.
Yeah. Like we could get there live on stage and we could make our digital twins from IoT into machine learning models and show us training them and then doing predictions. I used to not have any idea how to do that stuff, but the tools, the technology tooling has gotten easier to do that today. In the past, it's like I was just happy that I could move data somewhere and get it into a database and do some basic analytics. But the machine learning stuff, it used to be you had these PhD data scientists to do that work. And it was inconsistent in whether it actually worked or not. And so, but today, lots of tooling. I know me personally, I used the ML.net, and I saw how easy it was in Visual Studio to point to a data set or point to a table in a database. And this new thing called Auto ML where it tries a whole bunch of different algorithms and finds the best one automatically. That's huge, because now all of a sudden it makes it easier for lots of people to do machine learning on a machine.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the media booth. I saw they have these agent nodes. I don't know how they call it, or and basically it's kind of a node-RED thing. No, it's like boxes, and you connect and you say, and it automatically works.
That's cool.
So I think we are going to a no-code solution.
Yeah.
Where there are black boxes that do black magic and work.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of cool stuff we could talk about. AI as a service, machine learning as a service, I was always blown away this ML.net. As soon as it figured out that it'd say, here's some test data to make sure its prediction works the way and you're like, oh. And then the next thing in the wizard, it's like creates the code to build a REST service. And then you just send the data, it does inference against the model. And I'm like, that's so cool. Does anybody else know how easy this has gotten? And yet, obviously, everybody's excited about generative AI these days, and that's all they're talking about. But that other AI is still important.
Yeah, or maybe we need to go to the older things, no? Like we can bring again Arduino Unos and show cool stuff with them, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, this is not connected. So there are only serial ports and digital analog.
Sometimes I wonder if the secret, and maybe your friend knows the secret to success, but I always wonder, maybe is it creating all open source technology and saying, here it is. And I know lots of people say, oh, do the Red Hat model or whatever, but it's like, well, open source platforms, all this stuff. If you want somebody to manage it for you and host it for you, you can pay me to do that. But it's really, you get to own it, company X, Y, Z, whoever you are. It's your platform. If you want to run it, you can, but we make money off of maintenance or hosting it in a cloud for you. I don't know. Sometimes it's just semantics, whether it's different or not, but because your smart city conference that you just had, smart cities, so many of these things, the underpinnings of that is still IoT. It just is.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of these cool things. Industry 4.0 absolutely requires IoT.
An Ethernet cable or fiber, and absolutely.
Yeah.
I was seeing some demos and I was like, oh, look, this is what Rob was saying, Ethernet cables and fiber. Oh, wow.
Totally. Yeah, it all needs IoT. And then when we talk about doing all the sustainability stuff, climate and tracking and things like that, you need IoT to do that too. I'm still spending time and doing conferences with these oil and gas people in Texas saying you need to use IoT so you know what's going on, so you can manage things. Methane, CO2 emissions, how else are you going to know? Unless some guy drives his truck and goes there and takes a reading directly and then writes it down on his clipboard.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's IoT needs to be there, and it will be embedded in the solution for customers, and and it's going to be a camera, or it's going to be a tiny sensor or a certified sensor, but it's gonna
absolutely,
it's a must now.
We're going to bring
it's not going to be called IoT probably, but
it won't be. And you're right. Like we talk about, a lot of times when technology becomes mature, it disappears. And it just goes into the background, and it's just something else you use, and you don't think about it. We don't talk about, are you using Ethernet or a token ring, or are you using, there's so many technologies. In the early days, it's exciting, it's interesting and new, and you talk about it. And then over time, it's just what we use, and we don't even talk about it anymore. Anyway, we're going to find a way. I'm excited about IoT Stars. We got to make this the best ever. I love having the 10-year anniversary, make it bigger. I think if we can make it longer, but make sure that we keep the audience excited, not bored, falling asleep.
Yeah, that's tricky because people is tired, so it's always a fight if we want to have more talks or less. But I don't know. It's tricky because people sometimes use IoT stars to meet with other people.
Yeah.
So if they get bored or someone needs to go to dinner and I want to talk with you, let's go outside. But then outside there is the food, and then you start eating before anyone else. And
right.
Yeah, last year happened. Like half of the food was over because there were like 10 people outside speaking.
Yeah. I remember we used to have Ocean, Looney, DJ.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. But he's doing other events, so Leonard is not.
But you never know.
He's not part of IoT Stars anymore, sadly.
We might get him. I think, because I imagine how cool that was. You go into Strela Dam for what, 30 minutes, an hour, something. People are drinking beer, talking, DJ. That's cool. Go in, do the event. Maybe make that event an hour and a half or something. I don't know. Individual speakers, panels, see if we can find one group of entrepreneurs maybe. And then maybe after come back up and have beer again. I don't know. Or maybe have light food or something, tapas, something like that, so that we have a reason to stay there after instead of people just leaving.
Yeah, indeed. This is what we are doing. So beers, talks, and more beers and food.
Yeah.
And actually something that we tested, you missed that in Austin. So we had Olivier Bloch doing his IoT show podcast.
Cool.
From IoT Star. So we are gonna try to repeat that and have Olivier in Barcelona.
I love
Instead
it.
of doing an IoT Coffee Talk, have Olivier be with people and
that was great.
Live stream from there.
I remember when we did the coffee talk, but it was upstairs at that other one near Rick Beato. I remember really wanting it to be. I really wanted it to. I had this in my mind, up on stage, doing the coffee talk live and broadcasting it live from there in front of everybody, and then maybe that's what Olivier did. But something.
Yeah, exactly. He was live streaming, and then later he cut the videos and everything, and he published the cut videos. But I think it was very good. He could interview like 5-6 people in.
Oh, that's cool.
In 1 hour.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to do, because I think there is a lot of value as well on those interviews. You can, Olivier is really good doing the right questions.
Yeah, I like that. Do the good old Reddit Ask Me Anything AMA.
I know. So, yeah, absolutely. So
I love it.
This is going to be cool.
All right, I'm getting excited. It's going to be good. It's going to
check your flights.
I better get a flight. I know. I'm focused on cloud at my new job, and private cloud, but we'll still find
probably there is a lot of private cloud at Mobile World Congress, right? All the private cloud players are there.
It's interesting. Speaking of private cloud and open source, it feels. Do you remember OpenStack? Do you remember that technology?
Yeah,
it was open source technology.
Yeah,
and it kind of
was part of Linux Foundation or not?
I don't think so. There's this open infra. It's like apparently though the second or third most active open source project in the world, though, even though it's not part of the Linux Foundation. And I just remember it, and I heard about it again. There was that data center company called Rackspace, and
of course
they used OpenStack, and OpenStack was originally created by them and NASA, and in 2010. And then it was being used initially as an alternative to a public cloud. Like instead of Azure or AWS, I'm going to use OpenStack to build this cloud. In fact, HP even tried to go in the cloud business and use OpenStack to do that. And it didn't work out. Some of the telco companies use OpenStack to run their telecom clouds. But then you're right, it kind of died and you didn't hear anything about it. Anyway, it feels like it's making a comeback. I'm hearing a lot more now, and people because of the need for private cloud or hybrid cloud, Industry 4.0, it's happening in factories and it's got to be local, And so And so now all of a sudden, I think it's given OpenStack got more mature over the years. It can do VMs, it can do Kubernetes and manage all that stuff. Has a dashboard, point and click. So anyway, I think stuff like that there's a tie-in. The people who are wanting to do these Industry 4.0 things, they talk about the edge, but maybe they need an easy point and click private.
Yeah, they need something like that. Yeah, they need something that can help them in private clouds in the factories.
Yeah,
but as well.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah.
Keep it simple.
Interesting. I didn't follow them, but looks. And are they going to Mobile World Congress or you don't know?
It's a good question. I'll reach out and find out. I'm gonna write an article, an IDC paper on
Awesome.
and position it as, hey, here's your open source alternative to build a private hybrid cloud. You know, in addition to, you know, VMware has their cloud, HP has something called GreenLake. All the hyperscalers have on-prem. There's Azure Stack. There's AWS Outposts.
Yeah.
Oracle has something called Dedicated Region.
And Linux Foundation doesn't have anything.
I'll have to check.
That's right.
I'll have to go look around and see what they got. They may have something. I don't know, but maybe not.
I don't know either.
Yeah, because all this is built on Linux anyway. Yeah. Something to look at. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Should we say adios to everyone?
Adios.
And definitely come to IoT Stars in Barcelona. Yeah. I don't have my shirt. Get some IoT Coffee Talk merch like Mark has. Come to Mobile World Congress in Barca. Go to IoT Stars. Support Elevate Our Kids. Help these kids get laptops and connectivity so that they can go to school online in case something weird happens, like another pandemic. You never know. You just never know. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.